Hello, friends. Welcome to Buddhist Insights with Bhante Suddhaso, who's a little bit like sideways.
Oh, not your phone that's sideways.
Oh,
I'm not sideways.
That's why. I don't quite understand.
You can rotate it so that, there you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's the... We haven't had caffeine yet at Buddhist Insights. Hence, everything is a little bit unbalanced. Well, welcome to Gita, Michael, Edward, Jens, Nora, Ella, and James. Long time no see. Welcome back. So this morning we will be studying Majjhima Nikaya 37, and you can find a link of the sutta on the live chat. If you have any questions, as usual, feel free to put them in the live chat, and Bhante will answer them afterwards. All right, thank you, Bhante, for sharing the Dhamma.
No. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammang sanghang namasami. Good morning, friends. Today we'll be looking at the Chula Tanha Sankhaya Sutta. So it's Majjhima Nikaya number 37, which is translated here as the Lesser Discourse on the Complete Elimination of Craving. Not to be confused with the Greater Discourse on the Complete Elimination of Craving, which is quite a bit longer and more complicated. Maybe we'll talk about that one another day. Again, most of you, I assume, are quite familiar with Buddhism, so you know that craving is identified as the cause of all dukkha. So all of our pain, suffering, misery, emotional distress, internal turmoil, all of that is directly caused by craving. So the complete elimination of craving, therefore, is a critical element of Buddhist practice. In fact, it is Buddhist practice. Because it's through eliminating craving that we therefore become immune to all the disturbances and troubles of the world. So as usual, I'll read through the suttas and periodically give some explanation. And then at the end, we'll have some questions and answers. This is a relatively short sutta, so we're planning to get through the whole thing in one day. So the sutta begins. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in the eastern park in the palace of Megara's mother. Then Sakka, the lord of the Devas, approached the Blessed One and stood to one side. So it should be pointed out that although Sakka is referred to as Lord of the Devas, he's not Lord of all Devas. He's specifically the Lord of the Tavatimsa realm and the Devas that live in the Tavatimsa realm. So the Tavatimsa realm is actually one of the lower heaven realms. It's only 2 ranks up from the human realm. So we have the human realm, which is also occupied by the earth devas, so the Bhuma Deva, the earth spirits. And then one step up from the human realm is the Chatu Maharajika realm, so the realm of the 4 great kings. The 4 great kings are, especially in Chinese Mahayana, they're very highly revered, and you often see statues of them in Buddhist temples. They don't seem to be quite as prevalent in Theravada temples, but you do see them there as well. And then the Tavatimsa realm, which is the realm of the 33. And it's never clear in the suttas exactly what the number 33 is referring to. We just know that it's called Tavatimsa, the 33, the heaven of the 33. So Sakka is the lord of the Tavatimsa heaven. So again, this is a quite low heaven realm. There's another 22 or so heaven realms above Tavatimsa, so it's not the highest. But Sakka was the Deva Lord who had the most interaction with the Buddha in the suttas. And Sakka himself was a disciple of the Buddha who attained stream entry by listening to the Buddha's teachings. So Sakka then, although he's relatively low ranking in the Deva world, he has a lot of prominence in the suttas because he was a disciple of the Buddha and spent a lot of time interacting with the Buddha. So in this case, Sakka comes to the Buddha, and it says here, while he was standing to one side, Sakka said to the Blessed One, Bhante, briefly, in what way is a monk one who is liberated by the complete elimination of craving, who has attained the final goal, the final security from entrapment, the final fulfillment of the holy life, the final conclusion, the one who is best of devas and humans? So in other words, he's asking, how is it that someone is enlightened? What defines an enlightened being? What's the characteristics and practices of an enlightened being? So it's interesting, throughout the suttas, we find a number of slightly different descriptions of an enlightened being, which all have basically the same meaning. They're just a little bit different in phrasing and flavor. So this is another one of the less common phrasings of what defines a fully enlightened being. So the Buddha answers, here, Lord of the Devas, a monk has heard, all phenomena are not worth settling on. So in Pali, that's sabbe dhamma nalang abhinavesaya. So Bhante Silananda, who's a very senior Sri Lankan monk, many years ago, he told me that this is his favorite quote in the entire Pali Canon. Sabbe dhamma nalang abhinavesaya. All phenomena are not worth settling on. So this is considered a summary of the Buddha's teachings and practices. This one phrase, sabbe dhamma nalang abhinavesaya. All phenomena are not worth settling on. And this actually touches on what I was talking about last night. Letting go of all forms, letting go of all sankharas. Because we recognize that no sankhara is worth settling on, therefore we let go of them. We stop trying to hold on to them. So the Buddha continues, and Lord of the Devas, when a monk has heard all phenomena are not worth settling on, he comprehends all phenomena. After comprehending all phenomena, he fully understands all phenomena. After fully understanding all phenomena, then whatever feeling he feels, pleasant, painful, or neutral, he abides perceiving impermanence, fading away, cessation, and relinquishment in regard to those feelings. So these days I'm translating viraga as dispassion, not as fading away. So this is one case where years ago I had gone with the existing precedent of sometimes translating viraga as fading away, even though the word viraga literally means without lust, literally means no passion, no lust, without lust and passion. But these days I just always translate it as dispassion because I found that that translation always works in every context and usually makes more sense than translating it as fading away. So I'm going to continue for the rest of the sutta. I'm just going to translate it as dispassion. So he says, after fully comprehending all phenomena, then whatever feeling he feels, pleasant, painful, or neutral, he abides perceiving impermanence, dispassion, cessation, and relinquishment in regard to those feelings. One who abides perceiving impermanence, dispassion, cessation, and relinquishment in regard to those feelings does not cling to anything in the world. One who does not cling does not become agitated. One who does not become agitated personally attains final nibbana and knows birth has been eliminated, the holy life has been lived, what was to be done has been done, there will be no further existence here. And the Buddha says, Lord of the Devas, briefly, it is in this way that a monk is one who is liberated by the complete elimination of craving, who has attained the final goal, the final security from entrapment, the final fulfillment of the holy life, the final conclusion, the one who is best of devas and humans. So elsewhere in the sutta, some more explanation will be given of this paragraph. So for now, I'm not going to give my own explanation. I'll wait until we get to the relevant part of the sutta later on. So for now, you can just let this percolate in your mind. One thing I do want to bring out, the word that's translated here as agitated. So in Pali, the word is paritassa, which, so this is not agitation in the ordinary sense of like the agitation we experience when we hear unsettling news, or the agitation when we're anxious about something. This is referring to a much deeper level of the slight subconscious vacillation that we experience as a result of clinging to the sense of self. So this particular kind of agitation, paritassa, is it's identified with the subtle restlessness of a non-returner, the subtle restlessness that persists in a non-returner until they become an arhat. So just to be clear on that, this is not, so ordinary level agitation disappears long before one becomes a non-returner. So that's something which is ironed out fairly early on in our practice. And by fairly early on, I mean in the first 30 years or so. So just clearing up, that's not referring to ordinary level agitation. Ordinary level agitation is removed long before this point. So the sutta continues. Then Sakka, the Lord of the Devas, after delighting and rejoicing in the Blessed One's speech, paid respects to the Blessed One, and having done what was appropriate, he immediately disappeared. So poof, Sakka teleports back to his heaven realm. Now on this occasion, Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna was seated not far from the Blessed One. So Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna was the second of the Buddha's two chief disciples. Maha Moggallana was particularly renowned for his great development of psychic powers, including the ability to travel to all the different heaven realms. He was also known for being very good at teaching the more subtle, refined aspects of Dhamma, but this is usually not as commonly known. So then it occurred to Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna, did that spirit really break through to the meaning of the Blessed One's speech that he rejoiced in, or did he not? Perhaps I should find out about that spirit, whether or not he broke through to the meaning of the Blessed One's speech that he rejoiced in. In other words, Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna is doubting that Sakka really understood what the Buddha was saying, which is a reasonable doubt, because if one really fully understood this statement, then one would be enlightened. So he's like, did Sakka get this? Probably not. An interesting detail here, by the way, is that the word he uses to refer to Sakka in Pali is the word yakka. So the word yakka, I usually translate it as spirit. In the suttas, it usually is a general term referring to any non-human being, other than humans and so on. So any relatively incorporeal non-human being. So this includes all devas. So all devas are classified as yakka in the Pali Suttas. In post-canonical Pali literature, the term yakka came to have a much more specific meaning, which is referring specifically to a certain category of hostile spirits, which are technically devas, but are very low-ranking devas. So I think they're usually considered Bhuma devas, earth devas. But specifically, they're hostile, unfriendly earth devas. But in the suttas, the word yakka has a much broader meaning. It's used to refer to any deva. Of any ranking and any temperament. In fact, there's a few suttas where the Buddha is referred to as a yakka, which I find highly amusing given the later usage of that word. Where were we? Okay, then it says, then just as a strong man might contract his extended arm or extend his contracted arm, Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna disappeared from the palace of Megara's mother in the Eastern Park and manifested amidst the Tavatimsa Devas. In other words, so then Maha Moggallana teleports to the Tavatimsa realm. And so the statement, just as one might contract an arm or extend an arm, it's indicating the ease and speed with which this was done. So it's pointing to Maha Moggallana's mastery of psychic powers, that he could teleport to the Deva realm with such speed and ease. Now on that occasion, Sakka, the lord of the Devas, was amusing himself in the Eka Pundarika garden, supplied with 500 heavenly musical instruments. So he was having a party. Sakka saw Venerable, I assume was approving. Sakka saw Venerable Maha Moggallana coming from afar. After dismissing the 500 heavenly musical instruments, he approached Venerable Maha Moggallana and said to him, "Come, Sir Moggallana. Welcome, Sir Moggallana. Sir Moggallana, it has been a long time since you last came here. Sir Moggallana, sit. That is the designated seat." Venerable Maha Moggallana sat on the designated seat. Sakka took a certain low seat and sat to one side. When Sakka was seated to one side, Venerable Maha Moggallana said to him, "Kosya." Kosya was one of Sakka's other names. Sakka had many names. In fact, he's still alive, so we should probably say he still has many names. It says, "Kosya, how did the Blessed One briefly state liberation by complete elimination of craving? It would be good if we shared that conversation as well." And Sakka replies, "Sir Moggallana, we have many duties and much to do. Lots of parties. Our own business as well as the business of the Tavatimsa Devas. A lot of parties. Sir Moggallana, even that which was listened to well, understood well, paid attention to well, and remembered well, quickly disappears from us." In other words, he's so busy partying that he quickly forgets about the Buddha's teachings. This is one of the reasons why it's often said that Deva rebirth is not necessarily desirable for Buddhist practitioner, because the Devas tend to live such pleasant lives, filled with all kinds of nice distractions, that they quickly forget the Dhamma, and they don't place much importance on practicing Dhamma. Not all of them. Some of them do practice and they do attain stages of awakening. But there's this tendency towards laziness in the practice. So then Sakka goes on, he says, "Sir Moggallana, in the past there was a battle between the Devas and the Asuras." So the Asuras were a group of Devas that previously had lived in Tavatimsa but were evicted from Tavatimsa for misbehavior. So in the suttas it says that the Asuras live on the earth, in the earth realm, the human realm, but periodically they try to attack the Tavatimsa realm in order to get back in, and they usually lose. Not always, but usually. So Sakka says, "Sir Moggallana, in that battle the Devas won and the Asuras were defeated. Sir Moggallana, after winning that battle and returning from it as a victor in battle, I had the Vajrayanta Palace constructed. Sir Moggallana, Vajrayanta Palace has 100 towers. Each tower has 7 pinnacles. Each pinnacle has 7 nymphs. Each nymph has 7 maidservants. Sir Moggallana, do you wish to see the delightful Vajrayanta Palace?" Venerable Moggallana silently agreed. This is great. So Maha Moggallana goes to the heaven realm and is like, "What was that teaching the Buddha gave you? Let's talk about it." And Sakka's like, I forget. "Hey, come check out my palace. It's really cool. And I've got all these like cool servants and stuff. You should see it." So Sakka's clearly not taking this very seriously. So it says, then Sakka and the great king Vaisavana, so Vaisavana was one of the 4 great kings who I mentioned earlier. Then Sakka and the great king Vaisavana approached Vajrayanta Palace with Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna in front of them. Sakka's maidservants saw Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna coming from afar. After seeing him, they were filled with a sense of conscience and entered their own rooms. Just as a daughter-in-law is filled with a sense of conscience after seeing her father-in-law, in the same way, after Sakka's maidservants saw Venerable Maha Moggallana, they were filled with a sense of conscience and entered their own rooms. In other words, they didn't want to see the Buddhist monk, and they didn't want the Buddhist monk to see them. The implication here, again, is that they know that they're not practicing Buddhism diligently. So the last thing they want to do is to face up to a monk. I've actually met some Buddhist lay people who are like this. And they only want to see the monk when they've been practicing diligently. But when they're not practicing diligently, they don't want the monk to see them or talk to them. So then Sakka and the great king Vaisavana had Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna walk through and investigate the Vajayanta palace, saying, "See, Sir Moggallana, this is the delightful Vajayanta palace. See, Sir Moggallana, this is the delightful Vajayanta palace." And Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna replies, "This glorifies Sir Kosya," again that's Sakka, "as one who has previously done meritorious deeds. Even when humans see something delightful, they say, 'Oh, this is as glorious as the Tavatimsa Devas.' This glorifies Sir Kosya as one who has previously done meritorious deeds." So in other words, Mahā-Moggallāna is emphasizing that the reason why Sakka has this big fancy palace is because he performed a lot of good karma in the past. The subtle implication here being that if Sakka stops doing a lot of good karma and falls into negligence, then he's going to lose all of his nice stuff. So then it occurred to Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna, this spirit lives with too much negligence. Perhaps I should instill a sense of urgency in this spirit. So the Pali word for urgency is samvega, which is one of those words that's quite difficult to accurately translate. So samvega is, one of the more interesting translations I've seen is a sane and sober sadness. So samvega is, it's similar to dispassion or disenchantment. Samvega is when you recognize how pathetic samsara is and you deeply want to get free of it. That's samvega. Ayasoma was having some samvega earlier, which she was expressing. This deep realization that samsara sucks. And the best thing we can do is try to attain enlightenment as quickly as possible. That's samvega. It's important to note, though, that samvega is a completely wholesome state of mind. So it does not contain any desire or aversion. So it's not hatred of samsara. It's just recognizing that samsara is a really crappy place. It's not craving for awakening. It's just recognizing that awakening is the only safety to be found, the only worthy goal. So samvega is actually a very peaceful state of mind in which the value of the spiritual life, the value of the spiritual goal becomes sharply clear, to the point where it cuts through all of our worldly preoccupations. So bringing up a sense of samvega is a very important part of our Buddhist practice. And there's a lot of practices we do specifically for that purpose. For example, the recollection of death is meant to induce samvega, among other things. That's one of its purposes. I could actually spend a whole talk on samvega. Actually, we should put that down as a topic. I'm going to make a note. Topic, samvega. Okay, we'll talk about samvega one of these days. So Mahā-Moggallāna wants to bring up some samvega in Sakka. The sutta continues. Then Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna performed a psychic feat, such that he made the Vajayanta palace quiver, tremble, and shake using his toe. In other words, he started an earthquake with his toe in the heaven realms. So this was a way of getting Sakka's attention. Sakka's like, "Oh, look at my beautiful palace." And Moggallāna's like, "Earthquake. Watch your palace shiver and tremble and quake. You think it's permanent and stable and reliable, but it's not." So this was a subtle reminder to Sakka that these things that he cherishes are not reliable. That this big, pretty palace, which makes him happy, is not always going to be making him happy. So the sutta continues. Then Sakka, the great king Vaisavana, and the Tavatimsa Devas were filled with wonder and amazement. The contemplative's power and majesty are so wonderful and amazing, since he can make a celestial structure quiver, tremble, and shake using his toe. Then, when Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna knew that Sakka had a sense of urgency, with his hair standing on end, he said to Sakka, "Kosya, how did the Blessed One briefly state liberation by complete elimination of craving? It would be good if we shared that conversation as well." So then Sakka suddenly gets his memories back. Sakka says, "Sir Moggallana, here I approach the Blessed One," and he recounts the whole conversation with the Buddha, including what the Buddha said. And so it says, "Then Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna delighted and rejoiced in Sakka's statement. And just as a strong man might contract his extended arm or extend his contracted arm, Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna disappeared from amidst the Tavatimsa Devas and manifested in the palace of Megara's mother in the eastern park." In other words, he teleported back to the monastery where the Buddha was staying. Then, not long after Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna's departure, Sakka's maidservant said to him, "Sir, is that your teacher, the Blessed One?" They're like, "Was that the Buddha who just came?" And Sakka replies, "Lady, that is not my teacher, the Blessed One. That is Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna, my co-practitioner." So Sakka's got a little bit of an arrogance problem here, as you might be catching on to. He's like, "Oh, he's my equal." It's like, no, not quite, no. However, his maidservants were impressed. They say, "Sir, it is a gain for you that your co-practitioner has such power and majesty. Oh, how your teacher, the Blessed One, must be." So it continues. Then Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna approached the Blessed One. After approaching and paying respects to the Blessed One, he sat to one side. When he was seated to one side, Venerable Mahā-Moggallāna said to the Blessed One, "Bhante, does the Blessed One recall having briefly stated liberation by complete elimination of craving to a certain famous spirit of great power?" And the Buddha recounts the conversation with Sakka. And he says, "Moggallāna, it is in this way that I recall having briefly stated liberation by complete elimination of craving to Sakka, the Lord of the Devas." So just to give a little more explanation here. So now that we've got to the end of the sutta. So first off, this phrase, "Sabbe dhamma nalang abhidave saya." So all phenomena are not worth settling on. So briefly speaking, all phenomena means absolutely everything. Everything that we experience without exception. Is not worth settling on. And why is it not worth settling on? It's not worth settling on because it is impermanent. It's insubstantial. It's not quite real. And if we depend upon it, if we settle on it, if we attach to it, if we cling to it, if we base our happiness upon any particular condition, so having nice friends, being treated fairly, getting the things you want, and living in the country you like, and so on, if that's what we settle on, then we will be consistently disappointed because we don't have that kind of control. We don't have the ability to force sankharas to always be the way we want them to be. And in fact, constantly trying to make sankharas be the way we want them to be is why we suffer so much. That's craving. So wanting other people to speak gently to us, wanting other people to care about us, wanting other people to be considerate of us, that's all craving. Doesn't mean it's unreasonable, but still it's craving, and therefore it causes dukkha. So he says here that one should regard any feeling that one feels, whether it's pleasant, painful, or neutral, as impermanent. So once again, saying that everything that we are experiencing is temporary and insubstantial and unreliable and unstable. He said we should regard it with dispassion. So dispassion means that we have no passion in regards to it. We don't fall into strong emotional reactions of any sort. We recognize that the things of the world are not worth getting upset about, and they're not worth getting excited about. Again, it's like like the example Bradley gave yesterday, like when you're watching a movie and we get all absorbed into the story and the characters, and we cry with the sad parts and we laugh at the funny parts and we get scared at the scary parts. But then at some point we realize, oh, this is just a movie. It's just a story. I don't need to get all wrapped up in any of this because none of it's real. It's not, there's nothing here that's worth getting wrapped up in. There's nothing here that's worth reacting to. Cessation, there's two meanings here. One is the cessation of defilements. Regarding phenomena through the perspective of the elimination, the cessation of our defilements, the cessation of desire and aversion. The other perspective is recognizing that everything is subject to cease, recognizing that everything which comes into being also ceases. It's recognizing that what seems to exist doesn't really exist. It has only what we might call provisional existence or conditional existence or apparent existence, but it's not absolutely existent. So this is perceiving cessation. It's perceiving the disappearance of phenomena, which is happening every single moment. And relinquishment. So relinquishment is, once again, letting go. It's the willingness to release our grip on things. It's the willingness to let all the universe slip through our fingers, moment after moment. And the Buddha says that one who develops these four perceptions, so impermanence, dispassion, cessation, and relinquishment, does not cling to anything in the world. And since they don't cling to anything, they're not agitated by anything. And because they're not agitated by anything, then they attain full enlightenment. So this is briefly the instruction the Buddha is giving. So a very direct and potent explanation of the core of Buddhist practice. And again, I want to really emphasize this simple four-word phrase, Sabbe Dhamma Nālaṅga Vinavesaya. All phenomena are not worth clinging to, or no phenomena are worth settling on. A very important summary of Buddhist practice. So that's all I have to say on this sutta. At this time, if there's any questions or comments, please go ahead and enter them in and we'll talk about it.
Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Well, people are having a great with this sutta.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
There is lots of amusement on the hearting with Devas, including emojis, courtesy of Sarah, who is now asking, a psychic has great power over others. This psychic ability is only a consequence of good virtue, or can you have evil psychics?
We can definitely have evil psychics. There's no shortage of accounts of those. So in the suttas, the development of psychic powers is usually connected to samadhi and aspiration. Neither one of those requires virtue. Neither one of those requires merit. That's not correct. You do need merit in order to get samadhi, but it's merit from past lives. It doesn't necessarily mean present life merit, present life virtue. So if you have sufficient samadhi and you make a strong aspiration to develop psychic powers, then it's possible. But that doesn't mean that you have any commitment to morality and virtue in this life. So yeah, there can be people who develop psychic powers, but who use them in very harmful ways. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and Michael says, thank you, Bhante. Never liked parties, so the 33 ain't no place for the likes of me.
Yeah, you'd probably be more interested in the Brahma realms. Those are more like being in jhana all the time.
Mm.
See, I have someone's interested. Actually, it sounds pretty good to me too. So the lower Brahma realms are like being in the Brahma Viharas. So metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. And the higher Brahma realms are like being in jhana all the time. And then the highest realms are like being in the formless attainments all the time. So the higher heaven realms are basically like really good meditation.
And where is the sleeping Deva in these realms?
Not a worthy goal.
Nice break, but where is it?
They're considered one of the Brahma realms, but I can't remember off the top of my head where they fit in the hierarchy.
So the lower realms then.
No, Brahma realms.
Oh, Brahma realms, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's a desirable rebirth. It's just not considered particularly useful.
A few eons break from samsara sounds always kind of great.
Yes, apparently it's like having a very long nap, which admittedly does sound kind of
refreshing.
Nice. Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, when you wake up from a nap, it's like, didn't I just fall asleep?
Yes.
Or you wake up in hell realm.
So much to Oh yeah, that would be inconvenient, waking up in the hell realm after the good karma is exhausted. All right, there you go with that aspiration. There it goes. So Byrne asks, I question the difference between detachment and apathy, or having detachment but also having love for filling the gaps. Can you talk about this? How does one stay detached and connected?
Well, so in Buddhism, we don't normally use the word detachment because that's already in use in Western psychology to refer to an actually quite unwholesome mental disorder. So normally we use the term non-attachment rather than detachment. So I'm not hugely familiar with detachment disorders. I looked into it briefly a while back for this reason. But when I read it, I was like, yeah, that's not Buddhism. Detachment disorders are not what we're trying to do at all. So non-attachment is the willingness to allow things to change, briefly speaking. The willingness to allow things to come to an end. So it's not trying to get away from what's happening. It's not rejecting what's happening. It's not wanting things to end. It's not wanting things to change. It's not wanting to ignore what you're feeling or what you're seeing or what you're hearing or what you're going through. Because all of that would just be aversion, which is just another form of attachment. So non-attachment requires that one be willing to fully face and experience what's presently happening, but with the full willingness to allow it to cease and allow it to change. Okay?
All right. And Gita asks, where are the pure abodes, Bhante?
They're technically one of the Brahma realms. Depending on who you ask, they're either the highest of the subtle material realms or they're part of the immaterial realms. I personally classify them in the immaterial realms based on how they're spoken about in the suttas, but there's some debate on this.
And that's the last question. So unless something else comes up.
Anything else? Go ahead.
I think it reminds me of one of the suttas where I think the Buddha was talking to a layperson who had achieved, I think, either once return or non-return. And they were just saying how they can't remember any moment in their life where they felt like grief over a loved one dying. But like the implication was that they still loved that person, but when, you know, they passed on, whatever, it wasn't like this sort of tragic.
Yeah, that's a good point. So keep in mind that the mind of an awakened being is boundless compassion. So boundless compassion for all sentient beings, but with also complete non-attachment towards all sentient beings, recognizing that all sentient beings are impermanent and subject to arise and cease like everything else. So it's this combination of infinite love and infinite non-attachment. So that's the mind of an awakened being. That's the attitude they have towards other sentient beings. So yeah, it is like that. So an enlightened being deeply loves all beings, but is also not upset when those beings die.
And Elaine is asking, immaterial, meaning no body, formless?
Yeah, no body, incorporeal, no physical body.
All right. Oh, and good to see you, Alicia from Spain.
Great.
Long time no see. All right. So I think that's all for. Oh, sorry, Gita says, Bhante, does that mean no body in pure abodes?
Again, there's debate on this, but actually that's my viewpoint. My personal opinion, which I admit is not 100% certain, because the suttas are a bit vague on this point, but I am of the opinion that the pure abodes are incorporeal realms. The one has no physical body in the pure abodes. But I have to admit that this is not 100% certain. It's just what I think is most likely based on how it's spoken about in the suttas.
And Michael says, might want to mention that today is Juneteenth and there are many activities to support those who have been oppressed. That is correct. Thank you, Michael, for the gentle reminder. In fact, actually, Empty Cloud Monastery today will be hosting, is the proud host of Black Exhale, which is, oh, he's saying that they have marches in Brooklyn. Great. Yeah, we're going to host the healing gathering where people are invited to come and celebrate Black lives. So it's not organized by us. We're just offering the space, but it is organized by a wonderful Jamaican lady called Antoinette, who is the founder of Black Exhale, and you can actually find information on blackexhale.com. And also on Buddhist Insights Facebook page and MP Cloud Facebook page and all our Instagrams. You can find all the information there. You can also tune in live if you want to, because they will be live streaming the event. So it won't with the Buddhist Insights page, although we might repost it. I'm not quite sure how it works.
Probably after the event, we'll repost it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I never reposted on a live event, so we'll see. But we have Bradley, who's a millennial, a younger millennial. We're all millennials, but he's a younger millennial, so he might know better. Anyway, if you go on Black Exhale's Facebook page, they will be live streaming it. And if you want to participate live, you're welcome to come with a mask here at Empty Cloud Monastery and support the gathering. If not, join local marches, as Michael pointed out. And may all beings attain awakening, and may we all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.